Bitcoin is trading at over 105K, and this is coming off the news that the annual inflation rate hits 2.3% in April, which is the lowest since 2021. So a lot of news to get to about Bitcoin, about the stablecoin bill, and also Web3 projects that are raising some serious cash. As always, I'm joined by Mike.
How's it going? How are you?
I have to be honest, I'm a little bit overwhelmed by the feedback that I got of the last video that I posted with Richard Byworth, who's with Seize Capital. And we talked about Bitcoin. We talked about altcoins as well. And I just want to say a big thank you to the new subscribers. And we got a ton of them that came in.
Nice.
So this video is literally the best performing video on the channel. And obviously a lot of that also has to do with the work that you put in on the channel, Mike, and also the amazing subscribers that tune in. So I promise that myself, Mike, and anybody else on this channel will always deliver the best possible content so that way you guys can be educated about crypto, about Bitcoin, about everything that's happening in the space. So just want to start off by giving everybody a big, big thank you. So on that note, Mike, there's a lot of great news coming out about Bitcoin. Let's start off with this big story about Jamie Dimon, because he's been a long time hater on Bitcoin. But he's saying that JPMorgan is going to allow clients to buy Bitcoin now. This is a very good step that we've all been waiting for a very long time.
Everyone comes around, man. Everyone comes around to Bitcoin. I just think that it's all inevitable, even if you've got these preconceived notions about Bitcoin and how it's useless, it's not backed by anything, kind of all these rebuttals that people have. Everyone comes around, whether it's just because the longer, the Lindy effect, the longer it's around, the stronger it gets, or just, there's more education around there, or just number go up, it kind of plays a role into that. Everyone comes around to Bitcoin.
And just like when internet first popped onto the scene, everyone was talking about how it's for illegal activities. And in the same breath, Jamie Dimon was talking about how you can use Bitcoin for trafficking, money laundering, like all these things. And yeah, we've come a very, very long way, Mike. And so have the companies. I mean, you're looking at the companies that are now accepting Bitcoin. I mean, just to kind of summarize, we've got PayPal, Wikipedia, Microsoft, AT&T. I mean, I don't even know how Microsoft is accepting Bitcoin, to be honest with you, but they're on the list. Starbucks, Whole Foods, Home Depot. I mean, these are really big companies that are now acknowledging Bitcoin. And there's more too now, like Steak and Shake. Is one of the newer ones that is on the list now. They've officially started accepting Bitcoin. And also, this is a distillery, I believe. Heritage Distilling implements cryptocurrency treasury policy.
Yeah, they've got a whole reserve policy. I mean, Heritage Distilling's got this whole, they're accepting Bitcoin on their e-commerce sites, and they've got this whole kind of a strategic reserve policy, company-wide policy. Steak and Shake serves over 100 million customers a year. So, that's obviously going to be awesome exposure for Bitcoin. And again, everyone's coming around. Yeah, you're seeing all these companies kind of buying up Bitcoin, putting on the balance sheet. And like you talked about, JPMorgan, they've had a pretty interesting relationship with crypto and blockchain, right? Like you said, Jamie Dimon has been bashing Bitcoin for many, many years, yet they were building this private blockchain, the JPM coin, where they were doing 2 billion in daily transaction volumes. A lot of that was like cross-border payments between banks. But also, I don't know if you saw, they settled their first transaction on a public blockchain that involved U.S. Treasuries on Ondo Finance using Chainlink to connect between their private network and the public blockchain network. So like, this is the first time ever that a major global bank has connected its core payment system to the public blockchain. So like, dude, JP Morgan's going all in now, it sounds like, right? Despite CEO just bashing Bitcoin forever, it seems like now they've come around, and it took them years, but they're they're absolutely going all in. It looks like.
I think the moral of the story there is to look at our actions, not what we say. And that's a very prime example of that. And something else, Mike. Obviously, these companies that are accepting Bitcoin, this is great news for payments. And something else that would be really good for payments is this stablecoin bill. If we can get this genius bill passed, and it's trending in the right direction. What's the latest on this story?
Yeah, so after the failed vote on May 8th that we talked about in a prior episode, they went back to the drawing board. They edited a bunch of key points for the bill, such as stronger bankruptcy protections for stablecoin holders. There were like explicit bans on big tech companies, like Meta, Google, Amazon, and individuals such as Elon Musk from issuing stablecoins. There's some strengthened supervision of government officials in involvement in crypto. So there are so the vote is set to take place tonight. We're recording this on Monday, May 19th. It's set to take place in the Senate at 5:30 p.m. tonight. One of the big hurdles in the past, the prior vote, was kind of this elephant in the room on Trump's conflicts of interest. So it remains to be seen whether or not they've made enough changes to kind of adequately address those concerns. But it will go to the to a vote on the floor tonight, this evening, and we'll know more later today.
Everyone watching, we'll keep you all up to date on this. One of the big supporters of this bill has been Coinbase, and they've been hanging out around Capitol Hill for a long time. But they're also making the news these days, Mike, and some of it for good reasons, and some of it not so great. And the positive is that they have joined S&P 500, but right when they did, oh, hell seemed to have broken loose.
Yeah. So, they're the first and only company to rank in the U.S.'s top 500 public companies by market cap. So they are in the S&P 500, and that's huge. That's a massive achievement. But then right after that, they got hacked for customer data, and there were some overseas support agents that were bribed by these criminals to leak sensitive user data. Now, this included names, addresses, and ID docs, but no private keys, no passwords were compromised. And I believe they said about 1% of their entire user base has been affected. And the hackers threatened to publish this data unless Coinbase paid them $20 million. But like CEO Brian Armstrong, in typical based manner, goes, records a video saying that, explaining the whole situation and saying that, no, we are not paying you hackers $20 million. Instead, we're going to set a $20 million bounty to help to reward people who help bring the hackers to justice. That was pretty awesome. I mean, not the hacking, but the response to the hacking. But they have warned that this hack could cost them up to $400 million with only reimbursements and other associated costs. So definitely not a good situation there, but I think a pretty good response. And kind of speaking about that 1% of total users, Coinbase is under investigation by the SEC for their claim of having 100 million verified users in marketing materials and disclosures dating back to 2021. Now, this isn't a new case. It started in the Biden administration, and it seems to be continuing under the Trump administration. But yeah, they're under the limelight there for the wrong reasons.
Moving along, Mike. So we've got 3 projects that are securing some serious funding. And today we're going to start with KYD Labs, which they've secured funding from A16Z, which is a very reputable venture capital firm. What can you tell us about this raise?
Yeah, they've raised a 7.1 million seed round led by A16Z Crypto Startup Accelerator, participation from Finality Capital, Xstars, and others. KYD Labs is a on-chain ticketing platform. So they're built on Solana. It empowers artists and venues to control ticket sales, fan data, and revenue, and addresses a lot of issues like secondary market revenue loss, lack of transparency in traditional ticketing systems. So, like, I used to work in the sports space, and first of all, Ticketmaster is brutally bad. They had so much control over the ticketing industry. Their fees are exorbitant. I think like there's a lot of scams with secondary ticket sales. Their technology was the absolute worst. I'm pretty surprised that we haven't heard more about ticketing. I know there are a lot of companies, blockchain ticketing companies, that are working towards it. I think there's just a lot of industry dynamics that kind of make it hard to get traction quickly. A lot of entrenched processes. But KYD raised this big seed round. They plan to expand over 100 US venues by next year, and they're going to launch a couple of tokens to strengthen its community and decentralize. So yeah, again, I think ticketing is such a good use case for blockchain. I think it's just a matter of like there's a lot of coordination that happens and a lot of entrenched vendors and processes that make it a bit of a slow go, but we'll see how the KYD Labs does.
To your point, there are some areas in the traditional world that I think make really good use case for blockchain. Like the music industry, I hear a lot of complaints about the way that business is ran, ticketing platform, to your point. So It will be interesting to see if we do have one leader in the space, because I've seen a few of these startups pop up that are trying to tackle the Ticketmaster model. So we'll see if any one of these can actually break through. Pretty cool. Next, Mike, let's go over N1. I'll be honest, I haven't heard too much about this chain. What are they all about?
Yeah, so maybe you've heard of Layer N, which was a roll-up network, and then they kind of pivoted to N1. So N1's a high-performance Layer 1, raised $2 million in a public sale hosted on Echo. Super fast. 100K transactions per second. And what's interesting is they allow for multi-language development, including TypeScript, Rust, and C. That's sometimes a big area where people have to consider what programming language and then you kind of gravitate towards the chains that allow those programming languages. And N1 now allows for 3 very popular traditional programming languages. I think it's another high performance Layer 1. Again, still it's even though it's fast, like it's a pretty brutal competitive space for L1s and L2s right now, right? There's a lot of them out there. They're all it's kind of a zero sum game. They're all fighting for developers. They're all fighting for TVL. But yeah, maybe we'll see how N1 can do against all the competition out there.
And it creates fragmentation. Right. So I think at this point, have we reached a point where there's more of a downside than there is an upside to having more of these chains?
That's kind of an ongoing debate. Do I think that the existing chains are kind of like the end all be all? No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that. I think there's still definitely optimizations that you can make. There are different vectors that you can differentiate on for chains. It's just that, you kind of take a look at how most were EVM, a lot of people thought that EVM was the end game. And then, comes Solana. Everyone kind of thought that Solana, is one of the fastest chains. And then now you got the move chains like Aptos and Sui with a lot of momentum. So, I can't just say that L1s are done, because I think there's still a lot of optimizations that you could make. It's just a really tough game to be playing in right now.
I look forward to the day where we can draw a very close comparison between what gold is to the stock market and what Bitcoin is to the rest of the altcoin market. But right now, there's just not enough maturity there for us to have that comparison. But it would be great to get to a point where we can have those clear winners like the Apples, the Microsofts, and say, look, the likelihood of you taking down these giants is not very high, because the rate at which they can adapt is much greater than the rate at which you can create a network effect. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to.
But I also think I'm going to push back a little bit on that, because while I do believe that the there are going to be a small number of winners, general L1s, L2s. But I think the crypto business model allows, because it's more decentralized. It is, with the tokenomics issues. It it facilitates, I think, a little bit more of a long tail where certain products can niche down a bit more than others, than in other industries. So, while you have this kind of duopoly of Apple and Google in terms of like mobile, I don't think you're going to have a duopoly in L1s. Right. I think you're going to have many more, and then you're going to have some more other what we call purpose-built protocols that focus on a specific niche, and you're able to do that because you have tokens, because you have more of a community-based approach to building products.
Well, I know that's one of your thesis is having solutions that serve a specific purpose, not this all-encompassing ones that we've seen up to this point. So I know that's a very strong point for you. So let's put a pin in that conversation and come back to it in a few years and see how all that plays out. Last but not least, Mike, is Giza. So this is a AI agent play. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it's infrastructure for autonomous financial markets. Giza raised 2.2 million in funding from Coin Fund, the Base Ecosystem Fund, RE7 Capital, and many others. The AI agent space kind of got super ridiculously hot, and then really just fell off a cliff. But what I get from Giza that is a little bit less on hype, a little bit more substance here. So they enabled the creation of AI agents that can kind of be almost like a robo advisor. They can execute sophisticated DeFi strategies 24/7, non-custodial, crypto economically secure, and interoperable. It feels like there's a bit of a reset of kind of the financial AI agent space for the better. It sounds like Giza may be kind of riding this up from the bottom and kind of building something that feels a little bit more real than just like Twitter spammy that many of the other agents were.
And again, just to kind of reiterate in the beginning of the conversation, when we started talking about like all these different things, like what's happening on the Bitcoin side, and on the tail end of this conversation, now we're talking about what's happening in AI. So we're obviously not saying any of this is a great investment, but our goal here on this channel is to always to educate you on what's actually happening in the space. So whether it's on the Bitcoin side or whether it's on this cutting edge technology like AI, that's basically what our goal is, to deliver all that to you. So if you found this content helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel, like the video, give Mike a follow. He's got a great newsletter that he has on Deep Ventures, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Take it easy, everyone.